Hello and welcome to this week's Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5 hacking scene update. In today's news we'll cover the latest on an open source NVMe assist adapter for Switch 2, Nintendo's firmware update breaking Atmosphère, and a Twitter account controversy rocking the community. Also, we will dive into new developments in Switch 2 Homebrew and a rapid-fire PlayStation 4/PlayStation 5 hacking scene update. Before we continue, I wanted to quickly ask you guys something. I started these weekly Homebrew updates focused on the Switch 2 hacking scene, but since the last week I've also added PlayStation 5 Homebrew and Jailbreak news into the mix. We're now 23 weeks in and I'm wondering what you prefer going forward. So do you want dedicated videos for each scene, or do you like these combined Homebrew updates where everything is covered in one place? My thinking was that if one scene is quiet or has no new information, another scene has usually something happening, so the videos always stays interesting. But I want to know what you are here for. Are you interested in the whole hacking homebrew jailbreak world, or do you only care about specific consoles? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback will shape how I continue these weekly updates. Now, our first story is an exciting hardware update. NVNT actually reached out to me directly after the last update and shared that the project is progressing really well. He confirmed that positive labs input helped a lot and that development is moving faster than expected. Things are looking very promising for the NVMe adapter. NVNT is working to integrate Positive Labs approach into this open source design, bringing us closer to expand storage on the Switch 2. If you didn't know, NVNT's project called SDE-X2M2 is fully open source hardware. In fact, many prototype components are already published. He's currently relocating to a larger workshop to ramp up development and production. The plan is to release the flex cable adapter and case designs publicly so that enthusiasts can DIY their own NVMe adapter, while also offering a pre-built version for those who want a plug-and-play solution. This community-first approach mirrors the model used by projects like Blue Retro, open source hardware with options for both DIY and ready-made units, empowering users and builders alike. NVNT's transparency and focus on user feedback have earned praise in the community as he prioritized collaboration over profit. It's an inspiring example of how open development, much like Blue Retro's success, can drive innovation while keeping trust with the hacking community. With his data and Positive Labs insight, the next step is prototyping an adapter that successfully tricks the Switch 2 into accepting an NVMe drive as if it were a legit SD Express card. NVNT is optimistic and so are we. Expanded Switch 2 storage might be closer than ever thanks to open source community effort. Now, in other news, Nintendo pushed out a firmware update for the original Switch that, surprise surprise, knocked custom firmware Atmosphère off course, at least temporarily. The big unreleased system update 21.00 this past week, and it does not play nice with custom firmware. Users are warned, do not update just yet, as this is a major firmware update. It may take a little while before Atmosphère supports it. In plain terms, if you updated your Switch console, you likely found that Atmosphère wouldn't boot and many homebrew and system modules fail to load. Thankfully, Atmosphère's lead developer Cyrus M is usually quick to adapt. The cat and mouse scenario are routine at this point. Nintendo patches something and the custom firmware developers work on an update to re-enable support. As of this recording, Cyrus M has already identified the changes and is presumably working on a fix, or may have even released one by the time you see this. The takeaway: if you're running Atmosphère on a modded Switch, don't rush to install new official updates. Give it a few days for the custom firmware updates to catch up, or you will be stuck until then. Consider this your friendly PSA. Always check community alerts before updating your firmware. Now, talking about this brings us directly to our new dramatic topic. The Switch homebrew scene had a bit of Twitter drama recently involving the SwitchTool account. This account was originally created as an automated bot to share Switch hacking news and updates with the community. However, things went awry when a collaborator with access to the account posted an unstable development build of Atmosphère without permission. And it wasn't the first time neither. The tweet claimed to have fixed Atmosphère for a new Switch firmware and shared a compiled build, but this was not an official release from Atmosphère developers. Now, the post caused a wave of confusion and backlash. Users weren't sure if it was legit, many downloaded it in desperation to get their custom firmware working on the new firmware, and some developers were upset that an unofficial and untested build was distributed under a news account, potentially leading to false bug reports or bricks. The situation escalated with heated comments. Some in the community even resorted to personal attacks and doxing attempts against the people involved, which is absolutely not okay. Upon realizing what happened, the original creator of SwitchTools, who had entrusted the collaborator, revoked the collaborator's access and issued a public apology. He clarified that the account's intent was only to share news, not to drop premature builds or steer drama. In this apology, he urged everyone to remain respectful. The collaborators' actions were misguided, but the backlash went too far. No one deserves harassment or doxing over a mistake in a hobby project. The SwitchTool's account has since changed how it operates, returning to simply aggregating official news and updates. Now, the incident was a reminder that communication and consent matter in community projects. Now, let's talk about the switch to what's been going on since our last update. The console is still extremely new, and as expected, there's no public full jailbreak available yet. Researchers are still poking at the system, early exploits are being tested behind the scenes, and hardware modders are experimenting with new ideas. But nothing completely has surfaced publicly for end users. It's very much the calm before the storm, with slow but steady progress happening under the hood. If you're staying on a lower firmware in hopes of a future exploit, the community has some tips. It's recommended to activate the hidden web browser on your Switch 2 and set up DNS blocking to prevent forced updates. Also, update your Joy-Con controllers so they don't force an update later. And also consider using a secondary profile to avoid your main account in any risky tinkering. No guarantees these steps will pay off, but they could position you better if a soft mod arrives. And of course, keep auto updates disabled. You don't want Nintendo sneaking a patch in overnight. So there's active research, but no breakthrough yet, or at least not public. A lot of known Switch hackers are still investigating, but they've said the Switch 2's new hardware security like T234 chipset, updated boot ROM, etc. is a tough nut to crack. Patience is key. In the meantime, we'll continue to see smaller wins like hardware mods, safe hacks, and maybe userland exploits via game demos or apps. The scene is very much alive, and the community is sharing findings on forums. If anything major drops, you will hear it here. Now, lastly, let's do a quick roundup of the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 hacking scene, because there's been some exciting progress on that side as well. Y2 Jailbreak has first reached version 1.2, and it can be chained directly with the Labs kernel exploit and EtaHen, which leverages kstuff patches in the background. In practice, that means the YouTube entry point has turned into a full jailbreak chain on support firmwares. You trigger the exploit via the YouTube app, it drops into Labs for kernel access, and then straight into EtaHen for homebrew, backups, and the usual goodies, so a full jailbreak. And on top of that, we've even got version 1.2.1 released today, which mainly focuses on improving stability and polishing the chain, making the whole YouTube to Labs to EtaHen flow even more reliable for day-to-day use. I think especially people had problems setting up the DNS while connecting the internet. If you are one of them, you can also check my tutorial guide where I explain this in simple terms. Now, coming to a kernel exploit. In huge news for the PlayStation scene, legendary hacker The Flow dropped a new kernel exploit, cheekily dubbed the Poopsploit. This exploit works on PlayStation 5 firmware up to 12.00 and PlayStation 4 up to 13.00, which covers a lot of current active consoles. According to The Flow, his new Poopsploit should in theory be chainable from userland entries like Y2 Jailbreak. He stated it's not impossible, it just needs the right way to drive the vulnerable code from that entry point. At the same time, even Design has pointed out that Sony actually did a pretty solid job locking things down, so turning Y2 Jailbreak plus the kernel from The Flow into a clean stable one-click jailbreak for everyone is still more of a long-term goal than a solved problem right now. Not content with YouTube, hackers are now looking at the PlayStation 5 Netflix app as another exploit avenue. A developer known as Earth Onion is working on a project called Netflix and Hack, which uses a crafty man-in-the-middle technique. The idea is to inject custom JavaScript into Netflix error page to gain code execution. This method reportedly works on firmware 5.00 through 9.00 on PlayStation 5 and possibly PlayStation 4. It's a userland exploit like Y2 Jailbreak, so not a full jailbreak by itself, but having multiple entry points is fantastic. The Netflix app is presented on a lot of systems, and if this pans out, it could be an alternative for those who don't have the right version of the YouTube app or prefer not to use Blu-ray exploits. So consider it another door into the system, currently being pried open. Meanwhile, the homebrew ecosystem is ramping up. The latest EtaHen custom firmware test build got new features like on-screen network info and an overlay editor. Homebrew devs are already updating tools, for instance, a new PlayStation 5 game dumper was released that can fully dump and decrypt game files from a jailbroken PlayStation 5. This is crucial for game modding and backups. And on the PlayStation 4 side, the ever popular Apollo save tool got improvements and added cheat codes for more games. The modding fun continues even on the last gen console. In summary, the PlayStation 5 scene is on fire. It's literally in peak, with Y2 Jailbreak, userland exploit maturing, and the Flow's kernel exploit covering up to 12.00. We're looking at full jailbreak support for a wide range of PlayStation 5s on the horizon. It's been a long time coming, but it feels like the scene's literally right now on peak. Expect to see easier to use jailbreak packages with autoloaders and GUIs coming out once all the pieces click. And for PlayStation 4 owners, you're not left out. New kernel exploits and homebrew updates mean the PlayStation 4 scene is as rich as ever, even as focus shifts to PlayStation 5 slowly but surely. Alright guys, that's all for this week's update. It's been a packed week across multiple consoles, from Switch to hardware hacks and community drama to Sony's console getting ever closer to complete liberation. If you enjoyed this news roundup, be sure to like and subscribe for more weekly updates. Got questions or something we missed? Drop a comment below, we love hearing your thoughts. Until next time, stay safe, don't forget to smile, my name is you, peace.